What's good, everyone, and welcome back to another reaction video. Today we're reacting to Film Theory, No One Survives Disney. This is obviously the continuation of all the Disney deaths. Something that I still never really focused on a lot. Because, whenever I see a Disney film, it's usually the villain that dies, but then again, I haven't seen every Disney film. So that might be the reason why. If anything else. But yeah. I hope that you all enjoyed this video. If you did, hit the like button down below. Hit the subscribe button to support the channel. The content provided, and so on and so forth. The link to this video will be down in the description below. So be sure to give Film Theories love and support for the video they made. But yeah, other than that, hope you all enjoyed this video. And if you have anything you want to recommend, leave it down in the comment section below. So yeah, let's continue with this. Okay.
Hello, Internet! Welcome to Film Theory, where there's no rambling spiel needed to open this episode because we all know why we're here, to kill off as many Disney characters as we can, then feel satisfied and have ourselves a merry little Christmas. Last time we started our emotionally scarring journey through the entire Disney Animation Studios canon and came out on the other side having covered 41 out of our total 58 movies. Basically everyone with either 0 or single-digit death tolls. And we wound up with a total death count of 44. It's not too shabby for our first time out, but now we have to contend with those remaining 17 movies, where things go from mildly hazardous to outright Saw levels of death. It's also now when we have to start making some tough calculations.
Saw level deaths?
From the I can't believe Disney.
Now, that's something I don't believe. Saw was very complicated. And while there were a number of deaths, they were done in very, very harsh, cruel ways. Even the first film, everything was cruel in there. And very sadistic. So, yeah. I don't believe the whole that. So, just saying.
So if you need a refresher on the rules of our little game or want to catch up on those first 41 movies, link to that first video is in the upper right-hand corner. But for today's episode, we have got no time to waste if I'm going to prevent this from being a 4-part series. So in the immortal words of Phil DeFranco,
let's just jump into it.
Oftentimes in Disney movies, they present us with a scene of some light action or violence, but usually cut away or gloss over the actual ramifications of those scenes. As a result, it's skyrocketing body count that's happening right in front of your eyes. Chicken Little is actually a really good example of this, and a really bad example of 3D animation. It's like Johnny levels of bad animation.
Eating sugar?
No, Dad. This movie.
Yeah, great storyline.
GLY and ain't got no alibi. But if you consider the animation rough, the plot is a whole heck of a lot rougher. Chicken Little claims that the sky is falling, and he's right because they're being invaded by aliens. And the thing that's falling is a faulty piece of alien spacecraft.
There goes that panel again. Someday it's going to hit somebody on the head.
At first, all you Chicken Little aficionados might think that this movie would have a 0 death count, since everyone that we see get zapped by the aliens ultimately returns home at the end of the movie.
Okay, everything's been put back to normal, except for this one over here.
Foxy?
But that would mean that you overlooked the mass murder that you witness within the first 2 minutes of the movie, where we watch as a water tower rolls through town, causing massive destruction. Oh sure, most people escape, including this comedically long string of rabbit babies, but not everyone is so lucky. Specifically,
What do you mean?
People in this theater. Notice that this theater is completely destroyed, and cut to the wide shot, no one gets out. So adding up all the bodies crushed under that giant sphere, we get Meanwhile, in
Oh,
Hunchback of Notre Dame, the one scene is the
yeah,
scene near the end,
that
where at least 6 separate houses are burned to the ground because the families inside
that
will
explains
hand over
it.
gypsies to the authorities.
Find the girl, burn the city to the ground, so be it.
Tack that on to the several villagers killed in the last scene, plus the Hunchback's mom and Frollo, for a grand total of about 47. But those were just the warm-up. Home on the Range is the little-known
40
and very little-watched
What?
Western comedy about animals trying to save their ranch from a... I can't even make this stuff up. Animals trying to save their ranch from an evil cattle rustler who yodels to hypnotize cows to do his bidding.
Now, don't everybody speak at one time. What is this, the frozen food section?
I'm sorry, but what? Is that a movie? I'm sorry, this thing just freaking dumbfounded me. This was a movie made by Disney? You know what? I'm okay not knowing every single Disney movie now. I'm okay.
Is this thing on?
It was a movie that was so bad that it killed Disney animation for like 5 solid years. And you know what else it killed? About
Also, that kind of
304
sounds like,
sapient cats who were yodeled, hypnotized, and then sold off to the black market of black
Annabelle?
Angus.
Yeah,
5,000
I don't know.
are saved by the end of the movie. The 304 depicted in this one scene are never found again. And yes, rest assured, I count
that
each
one
every single
lady who's always with Goofy.
Speaking of Disney flops, Treasure Planet, which came out
I
2
can't
years
remember her
earlier,
name on
lost
the
a
top of my
ton
head.
money, about $30 million this time.
But she was a
Not
cow.
only was this a massive failure, it also came with a massive body count. If you count just the explicit deaths in the movie,
Yeah,
there's 17.
okay, yeah,
The
I
hotel
kinda-
explosion at the beginning of the movie makes up 9, plus a couple of pirates and murder plots sprinkled in along the way, and you got yourself a delicious murdery stew. However, it's this opening storybook scene that causes us some issues.
James Pleiades Hawkins, I thought you were asleep an hour ago.
Mom, I was just getting to the best part.
Yes, it is a children's story, but we find out later that the pirate Captain Flint is in fact a real person, and that the treasure planet is in fact a real place. And so presumably everything depicted in this fairy tale is true, meaning that this cruise ship was full of real people and was actually ransacked, and that everyone on board was left for dead. So, running through the numbers
Damn.
quickly, Flint's ship here is roughly the size of Queen Anne's Revenge, one of the most famous pirate ships in all of history, one of the ones that belonged to Blackbeard. That ship was about 100
Ooh.
feet or 30 meters long. Based on this wide shot of both ships, we see that the cruise ship is going to be about 6 times longer and 4 times taller than the pirate ship, meaning that it's going to be about 600 feet or 180 meters long. Modern cruise ships of that size usually have between 700 and 1,000 passengers and additional 300 crew members on board. So let's lowball it and say that 1,000 deaths total are in this scene, suddenly jumping our movie with a total of 17 up to 1,017. Like I said in the beginning, all it
damn.
takes is one scene and the numbers fluctuate dramatically. And with that, we have ourselves a new frontrunner in the contest for Disney's deadliest movie. I don't know if fictional massive losses of life are something to celebrate, but okay. Having established a new leader, I need a bit of a break. There's only so much early 2000s era Disney that I can take in any one sitting, so let's wash it off us like taking a cold shower with some much beloved Disney classics. Classics that are so brutal, I literally cannot watch them because they are so sad. That's right, we are talking about Bambi. The universe Bambi establishes implies that any forest creature from deer to rabbit can talk, think, and make characters decisions, meaning that any animal that dies during the course of this movie is going to get added into our kill count. And aside from the infamous scene of Bambi's mother being shot, there's also a dramatic forest fire scene. Remember, this is what passed as children's entertainment. Having just gone through a forest fire here in California where the fire burned literally across the street from my house, I've gained a slight appreciation for how devastating and scary these sorts of fires can be. I assumed that in Bambi, all those woodland creatures would quickly become crispy fried, but surprisingly, that couldn't be further from the truth. National Geographic published a 2014 piece entitled What Do Animals Do in a Wildfire?, where seasoned bush firefighter Gabriel D'Eustachio claimed that he didn't usually see animals trapped in the fires. The article goes on to point out that the loss of life for animals in these situations is probably smaller than we'd think, something that's supported by yet another article from the U.S. Fish and Wildlife
Really?
Services. Because animals have such
I'm actually
better
really happy
senses
about
than
that.
we do, they're able to evacuate areas on fire long before it becomes an issue. And most deaths only come from old or injured animals. And that's an important fact for our purposes, not just because we love animals, but because in Bambi, Bambi is the injured animal running away from the fire. He just came off of a brutal head-to-head battle against another deer, and yet he still manages to escape, along with the birds, squirrels, and rabbits that we see making it away from the flames. So how many died? Well, while there aren't any significant studies on the numbers of wildlife lost during forest fires, the Rim Fire in Yosemite National Park, the 5th largest in California's history, only saw about 345 elk die out of an estimated 50,000. There were also 36 mule deer, 12 moose, 6 black bears, and 9 bison lost to the flames. And it's a huge fire, whereas in Bambi, we can actually see the outer limits of the flame. So
Okay.
let's overestimate and say that Bambi's fire is about a 5th of the size of the Rim Fire, so about 80 animal casualties altogether. Oh yeah, and let's not forget about Mom, 81. If we want to start getting into higher animal death
Okay.
counts, well, we're gonna have to start looking outside the forest and take it under the sea. Yep, this next fun, deathly subcategory is one I like to call the fishy queens, because almost all their fatalities are sapient sea creatures fighting in massive quantities. The first surprising entrant in this category is Alice in Wonderland, which racks up a kill count of 12 just from this walrus polishing off a dozen oysters in a scene that is surprisingly horrifying because, look at this, they are wearing bonnets. They are established as baby oysters. Add to that 4 playing cards who are hauled off to lose their heads, and Alice rings in with a surprising death toll of 16. Certainly not to get at the title of Disney's deadliest movie, but it is enough to get at Disney's deadliest movie when it comes to killing children. Continuing to fill
I honestly didn't know about the scene about the one eating baby lambs and all that. I did not know that in Alice. Oh yeah, Brother Bear though. I just realized what we were talking about now.
Literally have an entire song dedicated to fish genocide. 81 salmon burned to dust in just that 3-minute scene alone, which gives us a whopping 27 deaths per minute. But it doesn't even tip the scales, the fish scales, that is, when compared to Pinocchio. Surprisingly, the only deaths in Pinocchio are the fish that Monstro eats. At first, I thought Pinocchio would have a massive death count. I mean, after all, we calculated how many little children were kidnapped and turned into donkeys in our Kids for Sale episode on Pinocchio, and it would be a huge kill count. 2,100 boys per boatload. But notice that the children in the movies aren't being slaughtered, they're just being transformed and sold off to the salt mines. Now, don't get me wrong, I am sure that many of them are having horrifically awful, painful, and slow deaths, but here's the thing, once they're shipped out, they're beyond the purview of this movie, thereby taking them out of contention for this theory based on the rules that we set. I know, it's a bummer they don't count, but as consolation for losing those donkeys, we get ourselves a ton of fish. According to the relevant frames of the movie, if you count the fish that Monstro eats in the ocean, you can see him consume an entire school of 83 tuna. Sorry, Charlie. To corroborate this number, I did some research. Only to find the original novel, The Adventures of Pinocchio, written back in
the mascot
1893,
for
doesn't
the tuna
specify
brand.
the type of
Got
tuna
it.
that we're dealing
Right.
with here. It's shocking and unacceptable, I know, for a children's fairy tale that we read our children, do not tell us the individual species of tuna that a giant fictional whale is eating. Can't believe the drivel that we feed to kids. It does, however, note that the tuna are big.
I mean,
According to the novel, they are, quote, as big
kind
as a
of?
2-year-old horse. The Disney version doesn't quite live up to that standard, but from that description, we can at least expect that what we're dealing with here is the largest variety of real tuna out there, which is the bluefin tuna. A tuna that can actually grow up to 1,600 pounds in weight. Schools of bluefin tuna range from about 60 to 100 fish per school, so our estimate of 83 being eaten in the scene is right on the mark for an entire school eaten by Monstro. Today, these fish sometimes go for thousands of dollars at auctions and become some of the best sushi in the world, so ironically, inside of that whale, Geppetto and Pinocchio were basically sitting on a gold mine. But oh well, no use beating a dead fish. Let's move on. The last in our fishy queen category is actually
You're not fun.
fishy
That wasn't
princess,
funny.
the Little Mermaid, which may not be
That
top
was
of the charts,
cruel.
but at least definitely scores points for creativity. These 8 sentient sea grubs get sacrificed to make Ariel's legs. Ursula personally polishes
Oh,
them.
yeah.
Die in the opening scene, and zoot the lore, 9 are recently deceased in the kitchen. Flotsam and Jetsam are toasted by Ursula by accident, and Ursula, in one of the single most epic Disney villain deaths ever, is stabbed in the stomach by the sharp bow of a sunken ship that then sinks back into the sea. Scary, but certainly not as scary as the ending of the original Little Mermaid by Hans Christian Andersen.
Oh, don't remind me of that one. Yeah.
Into sea foam, and in the other, she stabs herself so that her blood becomes the
Ugh.
colors of the sunset in the...
Don't remind me. Both of those were awful. I don't really want to remember those endings. That's the thing about Disney fairy tale stories. You either A, only know the kid version, which everything has a happy ending, or B, you see one of the horrific ones. Like Tarzan. Oh no. That one was horrifying to be retold in the non-child version. I mean, that was fricked up. Understandable why it happened, but ooh, it was fucking awful, that one. And that's just Tarzan. There's the Snow White one. Ugh. Don't get me started on the Snow White one. That's just all types of cruel. Ugh.
ocean. And just like that, ladies and gentlemen, we've taken another 11 movies out of contention for the deadliest. But I don't want to just end this part of the trilogy without giving you a taste for how high these death counts go and how far we have to go to reach some of them. That is why for our finale in today's episode, I'm taking on The Lion King. And now we have entered the big leagues of Disney kill count, with Scar and his band of hyenas decimating an entire lion pride territory. At the beginning of this whole theory, my personal bet was on this one to win, and here's why. We begin with arguably the scariest Disney villain in Scar, one of the only villains who actually succeeds in his evil plot. He kills one of the heroes, but oh no, that's not enough. He then goes on to cause a massive ecological collapse that devastates the entire Pride lands. So much so that in the movie's original script,
Not wrong.
we had Pride Rock being destroyed entirely. But what does this translate to in terms of raw deaths? Most obviously, there's Mufasa, the one that Scar personally kills, though he actually kills a zebra and 2 hyenas before this. But the real story here is all about the starvation. According to Sarabi,
Scar, there is no food. The herds have moved on.
So what exactly happened? And if Scar has been eating so many antelope, then why is he still so skinny? Well, in real life, lions usually only kill a very small number of animals, considering their size. A lion may go for 3 or 4 days between eating, and even then, they tend to share just one carcass with the entire pride. But when Scar starts letting the hyenas in on the same land as the lions, the herds start leaving for safety. So how much devastation is there? Well, it all hinges on how big the pride lands are. Mufasa tells us in one of the most memorable lines in 90s cinema,
Everything the light touches is our kingdom.
well, that's great, Dad, but just how far is that? Using some pixel measurements of this shot in the opening, and then using the average height of a lion of 3.9 feet, I worked out that Pride Rock at the very top is about 60 feet tall. From a 60-foot height, the horizon appears at 9.9 miles away, meaning that Mufasa's kingdom is roughly
close to 10 miles.
100 square mile area, which, unbelievably, is actually the area that one would expect a pride of lions to control, according to National Geographic. I don't know if the Disney animators did this much research or just lucked into it, but that has got to be one of the most incredible factoids I have ever uncovered by doing these episodes.
Okay, we got geographical facts. That's
but then how much
damn.
death would that really cause? Let's start with wildebeests. one of the key herds that we see in the movie, mainly when they're stampeding over Mufasa, which has got to be one of the biggest wildebeest herds in history, by the way, roughly 1,000 if you actually count them. That's almost twice the size of a normal herd of wildebeest, meaning that when Scar starts out as Rain, Pride Rock has one of the most vibrant, enormous wildebeest herds in Africa. And to chase them out of the air is going to mean a lot of increased hunting and lost food for everyone in the Pride Lands. Scar wants to allow not just some hyenas, but a whole society of hyenas into the Pride Lands. I counted 139 total in this shot from Be Prepared, which is a massive amount of hyenas.
I love that song. Favorite one in Lion King.
Usually, hyena pack sizes top out at about 80.
It just gives the right chills for a villain theme.
Lion King, that number is usually even smaller. So how much food would 139 hyenas eat? Hyenas consume roughly 11 kilograms or 24 pounds of food every week. In nature, that may include its share of tasty wildebeest, but they can also chow down on all kinds of smaller critters and even some bugs. Of course, with Scar's regime giving the hyenas anything they want, we can imagine that a lot more of their diet is going to be shifted towards the bigger game. Using the slaughter weight, or eatable weight of a wildebeest, we can calculate that 80 to 100 kilograms of wildebeest is going to be enough to feed about 7 to 9 hyenas for a week. That means that each week, this massive hyena pack is going to be chewing through about 20 wildebeests. Now, of course, we also have the lions, and lions don't just eat wildebeest, but we can use research documents like the seasonal diet and prey preference of the African lion in a water-driven semi-arid
zebras
savanna
too,
to figure
right?
out just how many other animals the lions would need to be killing in their normal distribution to feed just the hyenas. So each year, the combination of the hyenas and the lions would have to kill 110 buffalo, 27 elephants, 40 giraffes, 53 kudus, 30 zebras, 44 wildebeest, 20 warthogs, and 7 impalas. So that's a lot of animal death, but how long does this go on for? Well, when Mufasa dies, Simba's height indicates that he's between 2 and 4 months old. And when he returns to Pride Rock, he's a fully maned adult, which puts him at about 5 years old. So assuming 5 years of Scar's rule and multiplying that by our 331 kills per year brings
Oh,
us to
damn, that's a high
55
number.
extra deaths, due directly to Scar's promise to share his food with this enormous 139 hyena pack.
Stick with me, and you'll never go hungry again!
Oh yeah, and then Scar dies in the end. And that, my friends, is what it looks like to get into the big leagues. The new number to beat is Lion King with 1,660 deaths. After 53 movies with a whopping total of 3,508 total deaths, we only have 5 contenders remaining in our little battle royale. Will Mulan, Dinosaur, Atlantis, Hercules, or Moana be able to take the crown from the king?
Well, if you think about it, Mulan has war in it, so it's gonna be one of the top picks for me.
The Lion King. We're now up to entire armies dying, extinction level events, and acts of God, or rather gods. Of the remaining contestants, let me know who you think has the edge in the comments, and then get out your umbrellas because it's going to be raining G-rated corpses on the next episode. Who will win this literal death battle? I am dying to find out. But remember, it's all just a theory, a film theory, and cut.
Let's see. Our 5 films were Mulan, The Dinosaur, Moana, Atlantis, and Hercules. I don't remember seeing a lot of depth in Moana, but I'm going to probably safely put it into the middle. Mulan is like war, so that's something. But considering that we also have the dinosaurs, and I don't even remember seeing that film, so I'm gonna have to safely put it into last. Mainly because out of those 5, I don't know if a lot of depth is involved in that one. Though, from what I'm seeing from Atlantis, it looks like it's It's made by probably the same people that made Treasure Island. And if that's the case, then there's no doubt that that film's gonna have a lot of death. So it's probably gonna be my first, but I don't know. I can't really say for sure because I don't know if there's a lot of death in Hercules. I mean, Hercules did kill tons of monsters, so that's something. And I don't remember seeing death in Moana. So I can't say for sure. But go ahead and tell me what you think about this. Because honestly, I'm at like a middle ground because I can't say for sure who's right and who's wrong in this. So, yeah. Anyway, hope you all enjoyed this video. If you did, hit the like button down below. Hit the subscribe button to support the channel, the content provided, and so on and so forth. Hit the notification button, be notified immediately when a new video comes out. Tell me what you think about these movies, because, yeah. Honestly, I still can't believe that that one film with the cows was literally a thing. That was freaking ridiculous. But yeah, other than this, hope you all enjoy, and I'll see you all next time. Bye.